36 minutes past the hour and 41 degrees on the square in downtown Fairfield. It's time now for our Spotlight program here on this Friday morning, and as we like to do once a month, spend time talking about the Fairfield Carnegie Historical Museum, which is just down the streets from the Hy-Vee studios today, and our friend Dave Neff is joining us after his winter hiatus. How was the winter, Dave?
Well, as in today, we started at 35 here. There were a few mornings in Florida. We started at 35 in January.
Yeah.
And next door neighbor had all of her plants out, and she was out with tarps and covering stuff up and saving it. But it was one of the chillier winters that we've experienced, but we knew that it would get warmer.
Yeah, it still had to be better. I'm sure you were getting reports there in mid-January when we had the 1-2 punch of the 24, 25 inches of snow.
Yes.
And even though it might only got in the 40s that day or 50s at your place, you probably were still thinking, this is nicer.
I think we made the right decision. Yeah. Yes.
Again, we're talking about the Carnegie Museum here in Fairfield, and let's just continue to talk about the ongoing projects that have happened. Last year we saw the major portion of the restoration of that building with the tuck pointing and the base stabilization in the southwest corner, but now the aesthetic part of it is taking place. And I actually walked down the other day after they only had one window in, and the change was remarkable.
You are going to see a whole new chapter of the way this facility looked back when it was built in 1892. In the 1966-67 region is when they replaced the windows and only did half windows, and I'll say boarded up for lack of terminology, the top part of the windows. But these you're going to see all the way up to the round dome at the top of the windows. You're going to have full glass, and the glass will be having all of the shade building stuff into it. So your infrareds, your sunbeams are not going to come in and destroy all of our history that we have available on there. But this tuck pointing was, and they're going to come back and finish that up. But 1892 is when it was built, and original tuck pointing is what they have found out, and it stayed that long and has held the building together. So it was time. It was time. The windows, as you can see, when they first guesstimated, they said, oh, we'll do 4 a day. Well, it's 1 a day. They've come to that conclusion that if they're going to do it, they're going to do it right and make it happen. But you'd come by, and especially if you go inside and look out, it is just gorgeous to see that additional sunlight. And the armature at the top, the scope at the top really is going to be nice for it. So the second phase, the windows are in and started to go, and we'll continue and get those completed.
You alluded to it, and I was there for part of that process. You know, one of the big things was that UV protection, because the sun is, as much as we love the sunshine, it's damaging to some of those documents, some of those works in there, even the taxidermy. And it doesn't be direct sunlight, it's just the ambient light that's coming in. So this UV protection is going to be just another step in the preservation of not only the building, but the artifacts inside the building.
Exactly, exactly.
So again, you'll continue to see work down at the Carnegie Museum throughout the summer months, but that should be wrapping up. And then it'll be interesting to see what phase 4, 5, and 6 look like in the years ahead.
Well, one of the things that we have found out with the weather that we have had, that there's some things on the roof that need attention. When they were doing the tuck pointing around the building, they didn't look at the roof, and there is a brick chimney that is halfway falling apart and water coming through. So Melanie Carlson, our city engineer, has a couple different folks that are taking a look at it. So it might step in line in front of some of these other things that they had in order to protect from the roof and the water.
One of the things that's been really interesting over the last several years is the Heritage and Century Farm program that's been going on with the museum. And when it started, I in my wildest dreams, I never thought it would be 2 years and still going.
It has been remarkable, Steve. When we first did the investigation, we found there were 14 heritage farms, 150-year plus, but we had no idea how many century farms. And then we started digging into it. And we are in our 24th month. We are celebrating a full 2 years that we have been doing this and heading into the third. One Once again, 150 for the Heritage and 100 for the Century. Most all the Heritage farms have been on display. A few more coming out of the woodwork that we were not aware of that get certified. But this month of April, we have been hosting Greg and Lori Fry family, and they are southeast of town, down Glasgow Road, and then down towards Stockport and down in that area. And they are on display this coming May. Glenn, Marcia Hupp, they'll be rotating on our display coming up. And we are booked already into January of 2025, February of 2025. People keep saying, well, I think maybe I better come and do that. It's fun to hit the display. And then when we do the video, the interview and other things, we'll have 20, 30 family members, all the way down to the little great-grandkids and other stuff that'll be there. And they're sharing their learning, their family history.
I think one of the neat things about this current month's farm is with the Fries is that Lori's a big part of the foundation board, as she's a member of the board, the secretary, and it's probably really nice for her to see her farm represented in the museum.
Yes,
knowing the time and effort she's given to the museum over the years.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Good point. Well taken.
Let's talk about the summer months. I know that the foundation and the city board are looking at more people coming through the doors, and now you're putting together 30, 60, 90-day plans for that?
Yes. We decided with the enthusiasm, with the numbers that have turned out, and I may have mentioned this earlier, but since I've been gone for 3 months, I don't really remember what I told you back then. But before our COVID came along, we were averaging 500 people a year. COVID shut us down completely, but in 2022 we had about 2,500 people. In 2023 we were almost at 5,000 attendees that came through. And now we have new things coming along. We want to make sure that we're discussing and beginning to rotate more. And so with this, by planning, by talking, and being aware as to what's out there, more people can join in and say, hey, can I help with this, or have you thought about that? And it's just not just, oh, let's do this tomorrow type thing, but that way we got a calendar, we got a plan as to who's on first and what's on second.
Are you like me, thinking 5 years ago, the idea of having to have a calendar to keep things straight was sort of foreign?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, so last year over 5,000 people through the door, and part of that includes class reunions, family get-togethers, and I know bus tours are becoming a part of that thing as well.
Exactly. We have an opportunity, and thank you very much, Terry Baker, for being a part of our Convention and Visitors Bureau, Visit Fairfield First and stuff, but she has had the influence to share at the statewide level, and we have 2 bus tours that are coming through in May. And of course they'll spend time in town, they'll be eating, it'll help on the economic impact of tourism, but the main primary focus is we're here to come and see your Carnegie Museum.
Again, we're talking with Dave Neff. We're talking about the Carnegie Museum here in Fairfield. I know that we talked a little bit about it last week or last month with John, but this STEPS program that Fairfield's now being a part of.
Right. We, once again, the professionalism, the planning and other stuff, at the statewide level, the Iowa Museum Association has put together a program for the employees, for the curators, for the directors, for the other administrators of the museums around the state. And Jake Schmidt, who is our curator manager, Charlotte Wright is his associate, and they've been representing our museum, and it's a 2-year program when you sign up for it. There's something on a regular Zoom once a month they get together. Some of the modules that they have discussed are the mission of the museum, the vision, the governance, who is your audience and community, what's their engagement, the interpretation, the stewardship of the collections, stewardship of historic structures and landscapes, and the management. And so Jake will bring things to our monthly board meetings and say, I need to have you review this, and I need to have you discuss it, and I need to seek your approval so I can take it back as my quote-unquote homework assignment that I've completed. And by having this at a statewide level, all of the museums are benefiting because they hear what other entities are doing and what the successes have been on that.
Speaking of Jake, I really do enjoy the information and the thought-provoking stuff that is now being put on social media. It's fascinating seeing pictures from the 1940s or 50s of old diners or the community grocery stores that used to be in each neighborhood throughout the community. He's done a fantastic job finding those and ferreting those things out. And you brought something in today. I mentioned before we went on the air, I used to like a fine cigar, and Jake found out an odd piece of Fairfield history that I don't think many people know about.
I was not aware of it either, and we're getting some eyes open with it, but there was cigar manufacturing in Fairfield. I don't know the details, whether they had to import it from Kentucky or Tennessee or what they did, but there were 32 cigar manufacturers in our community here. 32. It's just remarkable, and this might have been back in the late 1800s or whatever, but more is quote-unquote unraveling at this time. And so there will be a display, and so people will be able to come and see and learn about the cigar manufacturing portion of the Fairfield economy.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if it was just sort of a little niche thing here that somebody brought to town and it grew over time, or... I mean, there's a lot of questions about why there would be 32 cigar manufacturers here in Fairfield.
Yeah. Well,
we were talking about the tour buses coming through, the tour troops, and I know there's another tour troop coming through that's got, what is it called, the Snoop Run?
Snoop Run. This is something that Gay Chapman on the foundation board and Stan Simmons has been a regular coming into the museum. He lost his wife this last year, and he is finding more time that he would like to be involved and dedicate to our museum. We have the ability to rent buses if there's larger groups, but have a regular, whether it's a monthly type of a tour, but you'd be able to go and see a tour of the cemeteries, the rural cemeteries, and the history of those. There are lost communities that are just an old crossroad now that used to be there, that were vital and vibrant at their time. Excuse me. Underground railroad stops and stations, Century Farms. It's all in the developmental stage, but Gay has a vision. She has access to Ray Ham is also part of the foundation board. He has a CDL, commercial driver's license, so he has the ability to drive vehicles when people are riding on that. So more tours will be coming along. More people from the community can learn, not just by listening, but by being out and kicking the tires, going through the cemeteries, learning about the other pieces. That firsthand vision, it retains so much more than just sitting and listening to somebody talk to you.
So again, we can look forward to some of that coming up in the days, months, weeks ahead. The Snoop Run, bus tours. That's very interesting. You mentioned Underground Railroad, so I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I'm guessing that plans are being formalized now for the annual Juneteenth celebration.
I am in communication with Lawrence Iyer, and yes, his health is better. And tennis season is going. He feels good about being outside, and he has a vision or plans for a Juneteenth celebration. So that will happen. More details to follow on that.
All right. Well, Dave, it's great to have you back in the region. Glad you had a good summer, and thanks for coming in. We'll talk to you next month.
You betcha. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Steve.
It's our friend Dave Neff from the Carnegie Museum here in Fairfield. We talk about it once a month. And again, stop by down there most afternoons. Jake will be in there, and he'd be happy to give you a tour around. And if there's a specific question you have, he can probably get that answered as well. It's about 10 minutes before the top of the hour here at 1570 KMCD.